The story begins by a serene riverside, where a young boy named Alec sits quietly, fishing in the gentle sunlight. His peaceful day is interrupted by a figure approaching him, Eldis, a magician of remarkable skill who greets him with a simple question. "Hey kid, are you interested in learning magic?" Alec is surprised, his curiosity piqued. Eldis, with a calm and deliberate tone, begins to teach him the fundamentals of magic. Concentrate. That's right, picture it in your head. Someday you'll have companions too, Eldis explains, his words carrying both guidance and foresight. He describes the future vividly. Alec will have companions, and one day those companions will face danger. To save them, Alec must master the power of magic. Eldis compares casting a spell to holding one's breath, steady, controlled, and deliberate. He instructs Alec to take a deep breath, focus, and release it. Following these instructions carefully, Alec finally manages to cast his first spell. "Yes, I did it, Eldis! I finally did it!" he shouts, exhilarated by his success. Eldis praises his efforts, noting the difficulty of the task. "Today's magic was a bit difficult. It took a whole day to succeed. You know, it takes a normal person about a month to master it." Alec's excitement is uncontainable, and he eagerly asks what magic he should learn next. Eldis smiles and tells him to be patient. "That's all for today. Let's continue tomorrow. Haste makes waste. Let's just relax and fish until the sun goes down." Although Alec is eager to continue learning, he follows Eldis's advice. As they fish together, a fish tugs at Eldis's line, and Alec, seeing the magician struggle, can't help but laugh. Eldis, laughing along, allows Alec to help him reel it in. Their laughter fills the riverside, a moment of simple joy and bonding between student and teacher. Eldis, seeing Alec's talent, assures him, "You have a natural talent for being a magician. Even without my guidance, I'm sure you'll become a top-notch magician. Leave it to fate, like the flowing water of this river." Alec, curious and sincere, asks, "Then why did you teach me magic?" Eldis hesitates, leaving the answer unspoken, though the bond between them speaks louder than words. Days pass, and Eldis gives Alec a book containing magical formulas. At first, Alec struggles to understand them, but Eldis patiently teaches him to recognize patterns, turning complex formulas into comprehensible lessons. Each day, Alec grows more confident in his abilities. Yet the seasons change, and Eldis must leave for the capital that summer. Alec's heart sinks at the thought of losing his mentor. Eldis warns him, "Even if you have the chance to become a court magician, I advise you not to do it." Alec, confused, presses him further, asking why he taught him magic at all. Eldis reveals a deeply personal truth. He is repaying a kindness once shown by Alec's late mother. The revelation leaves Alec reflective as Eldis departs, and the boy is left to continue his growth alone. Years later, Alec enters the Royal Magic Academy, excelling in his studies and earning a reputation as a prodigy. However, he learns that Eldis, who once graduated as the top student and became a court magician, was later banished from the imperial court. Alec's admiration turns to anger, and he resolves to repay Eldis's kindness by entering the imperial court himself. He vows, "I will become a court magician," and dedicates himself to honing his skills. Alec eventually joins Crown Prince Regulus's team as a court magician. Yet despite his talent, his role is constantly belittled. Regulus openly fires him. "Court magician Alec Egret, you're fired," the prince declares without hesitation. Alec is stunned and demands to know why. Regulus critiques Alec's role, explaining that while the prince fights on the front lines, Lenny unleashes offensive fire magic, and Ix acts as a living shield. Alec, in contrast, only uses support magic like defense and enhancement. His attempts to explain himself are dismissed, and Regulus and Lenny accuse him of cowardice and passivity. Alec's heart aches as the prince notices a dagger on his belt, confiscates it, and scolds him for carrying weapons as a commoner. In a humiliating moment, Regulus yanks off his robe, declaring that he is no longer a court magician and is merely a commoner. Alec is forced to watch helplessly as the team ventures deeper into the dungeon without him. Despite his dismissal, Alec remains resolute. He studies the dungeon independently, aware that the prince is underpowered and could face danger. He resolves to protect his comrades from afar, but his efforts are blocked by royal guards, who remind him that commoners cannot enter the capital. He attempts to pass a scroll to Lenny for the prince's attention, but she destroys it and refuses him entry. Humiliated yet undeterred, Alec reflects on the failure of his 4-year effort to influence the imperial court. As he contemplates his next move, he is greeted by his former team leader, Yorha. Their reunion is emotional. Alec recounts the injustice he faced, and Yorha expresses her anger at the oppressive traditions of the Galdana kingdom. Yet she reassures him. She had always planned to recruit him back into her party. She invites Alec to join him once again, recognizing his true power and dismissing the opinions of the royal court. Alec, moved, agrees to return. Together, they rejoin their A-grade party, lasting period, ready to set out on new adventures. During their journey, Alec recalls Eldis's warning about the court. In the capital, Prince Regulus hears of Alec's departure and mocks him as a coward, praising the new noble-born recruit instead. Meanwhile, Alec and Yorha return to their hometown, Fizel, eager to explore dungeons west of the city. At the Adventurer Guild, they learn of a restriction preventing entry beyond level 30 without a guild pass. Though frustrated, they begin their expedition in shallower areas to warm up. Inside the dungeon, they encounter a swarm of red bugs behaving unusually. Alec notices their numbers increasing, signaling something abnormal in the deeper levels. Yorha uses defensive magic to shield herself, but Alec recognizes he must reclaim his former courage. Trusting one another, they unleash their combined magic. Alec strikes with fire, then thunder, while Yorha enhances defenses. Together, they obliterate the swarm. Suddenly, a giant worm appears, capturing Yorha. Alec counters with elemental magic, while Yorha supports, ultimately destroying the creature. They emerge victorious, reaffirming their strength and trust in one another. Their challenges continue as they face a hydra. The party struggles against its multiple attacks, but Alec harnesses all 5 elements in a devastating combination spell, annihilating the monster. Celebrating their victory, they set a new dungeon record at level 68. Standing together, they reaffirm their resolve to write a legendary story, their bond stronger than ever. To understand Alec's friends better, the story takes us back 4 years earlier, specifically to their graduation day at the academy. While everyone else was celebrating their success calmly, Alec's group was in a dungeon fighting a dragon. Because of their reckless behavior, they didn't have the best reputation among their peers. But that changed when they reached the 68th floor of that dungeon. Everyone came back exhausted but alive, and they even claimed to have defeated a hydra. After that, they finally earned the respect of others. There was at least one person who always believed in them, their teacher, or perhaps the academy's director. She congratulated them warmly on their graduation. The group consisted of Alec, Yorha, a strong and passionate female warrior, Rain Ornest, a calm and confident blonde swordsman, and Anna Rose Crazia, a gentle healer who supported the team from the backline. They were close friends who shared mutual trust, respect, and affection, and they all deeply cared for their teacher Rose. However, as we already know, Alec later parted ways with them to become a court magician. His reason was simple. He wanted a stable salary so his father could finally rest. Alec had been raised by his father alone after his mother's death, and after everything that happened with his mentor, he made his decision. His farewell to his friends was bittersweet. They supported him, but they didn't want to be separated. Before parting, Yorha made a promise that one day they would become the best adventurers in the world and recruit Alec back into their team. Alec accepted with a smile, pretending to stay composed, but the bond they shared was only put on hold, not broken. Back in the present, Yorha is overjoyed that Alec has returned. After sharing a drink, she becomes a little too emotional and drunk since Alec almost got her killed earlier along with that giant worm. She passes out quickly, so Alec covers her with his jacket to keep her warm. A man nearby finds this amusing and mocks Alec, saying that someone like him isn't fit to be an adventurer. Alec ignores him completely, which angers the man, and he almost smashes a bottle over Alec's head. However, before things escalate, the man realizes who Alec is and apologizes, asking why someone of his status would want to become an adventurer. He gives Alec the adventurer pass he came for, but on one condition. He wants to see Alec's full power. Just then, Yorha wakes up and nervously calls the man Guildmaster, realizing he's the head of the Adventurers Guild. Alec nearly made a big mistake, but the Guildmaster decides to proceed. They head underground to the training arena, where new teams are tested to prove their worth. The Guildmaster introduces himself as Leviel Saint Diez, the head of the File Adventurers Guild. He's not only intimidating by title, but also by presence. Even Alec recognizes him as a legendary leader who once commanded an S-rank team. They both prepare for battle, and the duel begins. Alec starts with a powerful lightning spell, but Leviel easily deflects it. The master also uses magic to enhance his body, increasing his speed and strength to overwhelming levels. His blows shatter Alec's barriers. At first, Alec struggles, but he soon remembers that he's no longer limited to support magic. Determined not to hold back, he creates a sword of magic and charges in for close combat. Leviel continues to overpower him, but Alec studies his movements, finds an opening, and strikes with a lightning attack from above, followed by a sword slash. Leviel staggers, but smiles. He's clearly enjoying himself. The Guildmaster then summons his favorite weapon, enchanted gauntlets, and the fight intensifies. Every punch is deadly, and he's already adapted to Alec's lightning attacks. Still, Alec keeps dodging, waiting for the perfect chance to land a decisive blow. Unfortunately, his mana runs out and he collapses. The battle is over. Leviel feels a bit guilty for going so hard on him, but before he can say much, Rin appears and teases the Guildmaster for seriously fighting a kid. Leviel just laughs it off, saying it was fun, and declares that Alec has earned his adventurer's pass. Rain is delighted, though he can't help but laugh at Alec lying on the floor. Later, the group helps Alec rest, and Ray grows curious about what Alec went through during his years as a court magician. Leviel and Rain also discuss how corrupt Galdana's nobles are, looking down on commoners and caring only about bloodlines. They both respect Alec for enduring such treatment for 4 years. George finds Alec's determination admirable, which annoys Rain a bit. Soon after, the guild receptionist, Misha, arrives with urgent news. A high-ranking team is in danger deep inside the dungeon. The guildmaster immediately prepares to form a rescue team. The team in trouble is called Rechroma, currently trapped on the 64th floor, known as the Tank Slayer floor. Meanwhile, Alec is waiting outside, disappointed that only A-rank adventurers were called for the mission. He's approached by Krazia, who greets him kindly and heals his injuries. She doesn't ask about his past right away, just tells him that if he's ever in pain, he can always come to her, since healing magic is her specialty. Alec opens up a little, admitting that while adventurers here are different from the nobles of Galdana, his past experiences still make him hesitant. Krazia assures him, helping him relax and smile again. Just then, Rain arrives with news that they've been personally recruited by the guildmaster to join the rescue mission. They'll head to the Tank Slayer floor immediately. Krazia reluctantly joins, saying she tried to refuse, but the others outvoted her. Despite the bickering, they all prepare for the mission. The team Rechroma is still in grave danger, and Alec learns that the boss they're about to face is one he had previously defeated. The responsibility now falls on him to help lead the rescue. Alec agrees, though he worries he might be rusty. His friends assure him no one is more qualified than him, and they also revealed that they were only approved for this mission because Alec is part of their team. The guildmaster has high expectations for him. Encouraged, everyone is filled with excitement. The group officially registers under the name Lasting Period and sets out towards the dungeon, ready to continue their legend. Alec feels a bit guilty that his friends waited 4 years for him, but Rain reminds him that it was their choice and they have no regrets. Now that they're free and together again, the whole world lies ahead of them, and they're determined to make their names known everywhere. Using the traditional method would take too long, but there's an artifact that can take them straight to the floor where they were found, the same one Krista used to bring them out from the 64th floor. With it, they'll be there in no time. Another group heading down also has one of these artifacts, and as far as they know, the boss of that floor is an undead, something like a zombie but far more muscular. For this reason, their comrade Alec is the ultimate weapon of the group, the last one to act. They need to save his magic because he's the only one who can truly harm the enemy. They may have taken this mission lightly, but they're heading to a level where even an S-rank group nearly died. With that in mind, they move out. The moment they arrive, Rain takes charge of clearing out the trash, monsters far beneath their level. He cuts them down mercilessly with an artifact called Alma Restica, a simple black spear that pierces and slices easily. It's incredibly sharp and almost unbreakable, making it perfect for his hands. While the protagonist and his friends talk about this, he doesn't let anyone else fight. Suddenly, Alec feels something watching them and attacks instantly. Crazia jokingly asks if something poked his backside, but he draws his sword and strikes anyway. And he was right. A monster known as a Reaper emerges. Rain is glad Alec hasn't lost his instincts. He had noticed the creature before, but didn't warn anyone, knowing he couldn't do much against that kind of enemy. Still, he's confident his favorite mage can handle it. Hearing that, Alec smiles. He hasn't felt someone's expectations or trust in years, but that doesn't matter now. With a single strike, he cuts the monster down. However, the protagonist notices that his companions also seemed aware of the Reaper. They just wanted to test him. Something they'll talk about later, but first they have to make it out alive. Meanwhile, Rain is itching to fight. Yoha reminds him this is a rescue mission, but Crazia tells him not to waste time. He's a complete idiot, and they love him for it. This time, everyone joins the fight. Alec's swordsmanship shines, Yoha keeps boosting the team, and Crazia provides range support with her bow. At one point, Alec calls everyone together to finish off the rest with a massive lightning strike. Rain isn't too happy about it. Apparently, Alec is still using the same techniques from his battle against the old man and hasn't shown any new spells. When Rain asks why, Alec brushes it off, saying those spells are simply the fastest to cast. But that excuse doesn't convince Rain, who presses him further, demanding to know what he's hiding. Before Alec can answer, a loud rumble echoes through the area, then another and another. According to Yoha, it's the floor boss. Rain signals to the team, knowing what to do. With her buffs powering him up, Alec charges forward at full speed toward the sound. The protagonist is amazed by Rain's speed, but even more impressed by Yoha. Her support magic has evolved a lot. Her modest smile shows how much his words mean to her. When they finally reach Rain, they find a hilarious scene. A man running for his life, chased by a massive monster. The poor guy screams for Rain to save him before he's eaten alive. The protagonist asks what's going on, and Rain explains that the monster is the floor boss and the man being chased is Loki Silveria, Krista's companion and the one they came to rescue. He's technically the support mage of their group, but also known as the most annoying person in the guild. In fact, many call him the walking piece of crap. Loki shouts at Rain again to save him or he'll come back as a ghost and haunt him. As he says that, he trips, putting himself directly in danger. Alec wants to rush in and save him, but the others stop him. Apparently, this is how Loki fights. As the monster charges forward, it triggers several traps and gets impaled repeatedly. The protagonist is impressed by Loki's cleverness, though the others insist that doesn't make him any less of a piece of crap. Loki, delighted that his plan worked, laughs loudly, only to anger the monster further. It roars and unleashes a massive energy blast, vaporizing everything in its path. Loki would have been killed if Ren hadn't saved him at the last second. Now he owes them one, especially Alec, who ordered Rain to save him. Standing before the monstrous zombie-like Godzilla, Alec prepares for battle. The beast tries to crush him, but Yoha blocks the attack. Even then, the creature turns and charges toward Rain, desperate to finish off the piece of crap. Alec fires another powerful lightning strike, but it barely scratches the boss. Seeing this, Rain dashes beneath the monster, grabs Loki, and tosses him to Gracia. Yoha orders her to take him away as fast as possible. Loki, of course, refuses to move, but Gracia has no choice. Meanwhile, Rain returns to the fight as Yoha gives orders. Protect Loki, damage the monster, and keep it distracted so Alec can finish it off. She enhances Rain's power with layers of magic, and he charges in without fear. But his recklessness nearly gets him crushed until Yoha shields him again, urging Alec to hurry. Loki realizes that the legendary group Lasting Period has reunited once more. Alec channels multiple spells at once, 3 simultaneously, something only geniuses can do. But according to Crazia, that's still not his limit. Remembering his training, Alec pushes beyond, casting over 20 spells at once. Rain refuses to be outdone. He climbs onto the monster's body, stabbing into it like a thorn to distract it while Alec finishes his incantation. The lightning spell he unleashes this time is 1,000 times stronger. Alec prepares to destroy it completely, but the monster dodges and counterattacks. Crazia's arrows strike from afar, stunning it again. Yoha restrains it with chains, and Rain drives his spear straight into its skull. Now surrounded, Alec forms a 4-point seal, increasing the gravity in the area to hold it in place. Even so, the creature gathers energy for a last blast. In that moment, Alec remembers a spell his master once taught him, an extraordinary magic that only 2 people in the history of the Academy have ever used. The first was its creator, a true genius. The second is Alec himself. He reflects the monster's attack back at it, obliterating it completely. Then, to finish the job, he burns its remains with the 4-point seal. Finally, Rain cuts off its head, proud of his genius friend, and even more proud of himself. Alec teasingly calls him a genius too, and everyone bursts into laughter, thrilled by their victory. Just then, the piece of crap Loki approaches to congratulate them for their splendid teamwork. It was, after all, the legendary group Lasting Period in action. He tells Alec he knows all about him, the famous court mage of Galdana, who once defeated a Hydra, though some doubt the story. Loki assures him he believes it. Alec clarifies that he's no longer the kingdom's court mage. Loki calls that a waste and adds that Galdana's leaders must be idiots to let him go. He also thanks Yoha for saving him and promises to repay the favor someday, though she knows he's just a leech and pushes him aside. Even after doing nothing, Loki asks for more potions, claiming he gave his to another team fighting the other floor boss. This surprises everyone. There's another boss? Loki explains that the one they just defeated was only one of them. His job was simply to distract it so the others could fight the second. Crazia isn't impressed, saying he was born to be bait. Loki agrees, proudly, calling it a talent. Though when he gets too close, Rain splashes potion in his face to shut him up. Despite their bickering, the two seem to get along better than they admit. Loki explains that the second boss is also undead, more like a ghost knight clad in full black armor. It's possible there's nothing inside at all, and the armor itself is the boss. Physical attacks won't work, so everything depends on Alec. Loki then hands him something, a powerful artifact crucial for facing the next floor's boss. It's called Schwart, a dark sword that now belongs to Alec. But everyone finds this suspicious. Loki never gives anything without wanting something in return. Yoha suspects he wants Alec to fight on the front lines, and she's right. Loki even insists that Alec shouldn't use magic at all, an absurd thing that makes no sense to anyone. But that's just who Loki is. He loves to complicate things, to deceive, to scheme, to turn even simple plans into chaos. That's what excites him the most.
Meanwhile, we finally see the Prince group struggling for real. He urges his support mage to counterattack with magic, but she can't. She doesn't understand why. He tries to rely on his swords, but ends up on the ground. Everyone panics and runs away like always. The prince can't understand why nothing is going right. Recently, he gets tired way too fast, and even his sword feels twice as heavy. Thinking back, all of this started the moment he removed Alec from the team. But instead of accepting the truth, he convinces himself that Alec must have cursed him. Certain that magic is involved, he summons Bogan, a noble whose job resembles that of a shaman. Bogan examines him but finds absolutely nothing wrong. Yet the prince refuses to believe it. His performance has dropped too much, so in his mind, Alec must be behind it. Otherwise, why would he fail such an easy challenge like Floor 30? Bogan finds that claim interesting. He asks if the prince knows that Floor 30 has an anti-magic field. He then asks how strong Alec's support magic was. But the prince sees that kind of magic as useless, something only weak people rely on. His ignorance raises a red flag for Bogan. He asks if Alec truly never warned him about the anti-magic field. Alec should have known since he once belonged to the legendary group of students who reached Floor 68. But the prince laughs at that, calling it a lie commoners make up to feel important. He refuses to let Alec go unpunished and wants him held accountable for everything. Just then, someone arrives to tell him that the king wants to discuss Alec Kygrit. The prince instantly feels relieved, thinking his father is finally taking his side. He walks in, ready to complain, but the king suddenly mentions Eldas Magella. The prince has no idea who that is. The king explains. Eldas was the previous court mage, expelled around a decade ago for having the audacity to tell the king that he must treat court mages better, or something terrible would happen to Galdana. The king thought Eldas was a good noble, but still a fool. The prince agrees that exile was the right choice. But it didn't end there. Stripped of land and title, Eldas entered the Magic Academy as a commoner. Every insult thrown at him he countered with overwhelming skill. He even earned a title high enough to become a court mage again, only to repeat the same warning to the king. A year later, he disappeared from court. Eldas tried to show that commoners weren't useless. One had even saved his life. Lately, the king has been thinking about those words. He asks the prince if he knows why he sent him to explore the dungeon in the first place. Before the prince can answer, the king explains. He wanted to see if Eldas's warning was true. The king believes the kingdom must change, starting with discrimination against commoners. He now wants to hire talented individuals, just like Alec. This shocks the prince. He was raised to believe commoners are worthless. Accepting them now would destroy everything he was taught, lessons learned from his own father. The king admits he was wrong. It wasn't his best moment as a parent, but he's the king, and he intends to change things. The prince argues that he has already suffered for being associated with a commoner, so this proves inclusion is a mistake. But officials arrive with the letter Alec tried to give him earlier. It contains all the information needed to clear Floor 30, the same floor where the prince was severely injured. Bogan and the king understand the truth. Only someone who has cleared it many times could write this level of detail. Still, the prince refuses to accept reality. He asks his father for time to think and steps out for air. The king asks Bogan to watch over him. Frustrated, the prince tries to process everything. He remembers how Alec once tried to talk to him. Twisting the memory, he convinces himself Alec withheld that information because he thought the prince was useless. His resentment grows. When Bogan arrives, the prince asks him for a favor. Meanwhile, we return to Alec and his team. Loki begins explaining his plan, a plan his friends find absurd, but they let him continue. Alec is perfect for pretending to take on a different role. They want the floor boss to believe Alec is a swordsman. Loki claims the boss is intelligent, not like the mindless zombies they've been fighting, and is an expert swordsman. Alec wants to be sure, but Loki insists. For now, Alec must only use his sword until he gives the signal. Then he will switch to magic to finish the fight. Alec agrees. Next, Loki explains Kracia's part. She hesitates at first, but Loki tells her it's crucial. He plans to use teleportation magic. It requires a huge amount of mana, and he doesn't have enough. Teleportation is a state secret, meaning Loki took it without permission. But as long as no one talks, there's no issue. They don't have many options, so Alec jokes that if anything happens, they'll just blame Loki. Kreisha finally agrees. While she practices the spell, Alec asks Yorha if Loki is trustworthy. Yorha says he's not exactly reliable, but he is someone they can count on. 2 years ago, Loki coordinated an assault on the arcane dungeon perfectly, with no casualties. He's annoying, but brilliant, and his leader is a good man too, so maybe Loki learns some values from him. Alec decides to trust him. More confident now, Alec calls Rain to train with swords. Rain is excited, and Yorha watches with slight annoyance. Loki finds it sweet that their bond is still strong. Kreisha agrees. Friendships like that must also exist in Rechroma. They activate the teleportation spell. It's impressive that it works at all, even if it only takes them directly to the boss room. They need to be ready to fight instantly, and that's exactly what excites them. It reminds them of the old days, preparing to fight dungeon bosses. They teleport in. Everyone except Loki lands on Rain, a comedic moment, but immediately they notice the boss. Its presence is intimidating. They should have retreated earlier, but now it's too late.
Leader, Reweld, sends Krista back for support. As she leaves, their partner Marbell charges at the boss to distract it. Ruel shoots a fireball to assist her, but the boss shrugs off his attacks and continues attacking. As Ruel wonders how to deal with the troublesome set of armor,
suddenly Rain charges straight towards the main enemy. The boss's strength is overwhelming, and Rain barely manages. Alec rushes forward to help, and the two engage in a fierce duel. Kreisha and Loki rush to heal the wounded. After many clashes, Alec notices the armor is empty. Rain charges recklessly to draw the boss in, using his cape to trap it. Alec finishes the attack by removing its helmet. There's no head inside. The armor collapses. It looks like victory. But then the boss rises again, stronger than before. A sinister aura surrounds it. From inside the armor emerges something monstrous. A Dullahan, a headless knight, born from the union of a steed and a man, meaning the armor earlier was its mount. Before Alec reacts, the Dullahan disappears and instantly reappears to strike. It's much faster and stronger than before. Yorha reinforces Rain with all her strength. Rain, furious that Alec got the first strike, charges forward. Alec attacks again, but even with a high-quality weapon, the monster barely takes damage. The Dullahan roars, slamming Alec into a wall. Yorha saves him with magic just in time. Alec thanks her and asks Loki how much longer he needs. Loki says 5 minutes. Alec takes a potion and prepares 2 more. Rain yells at Alec to hurry up, calling him a spoiled court student who complains too much. Alec warns him to stop talking because that was his last potion. Rain actually smiles. Alec is speaking more like he used to. It's been 4 years since they last saw each other. Rain asks him how he ended up like this. Alec tells him to shut up, and Rain snaps back. He's tired of Alec keeping everything inside. They fought side by side for 6 years, always protecting each other, so of course he's worried. Alec finally breaks. He admits that he wanted to change the court for his master's sake, but he failed, ran away, and accomplished nothing. Rain assures him that doing his best is enough. He fought through misery for so long, he did more than anyone could ask. Alec is moved to tears in the middle of the battle. Luckily, Loki finishes his spell in time. He taunts the Dullahan, using its intelligence against it. The monster rushes at him instantly and cuts him down, but it was only an illusion. Loki lured it exactly where he wanted. The real spell activates, restraining the Dullahan's movement. Rain, as reckless as always, charges. Loki prepared for this too. Kreisha teleports Rain behind the Dullahan, landing a direct hit. Marvel, Loki's ally, jumps in next, but the Dullahan counters and charges straight towards Loki. Loki orders everyone back. He teleports behind the monster and uses a blade of light along with Yorha's support enchantments to hold it. Yorha binds it further with magic. Loki may not be strong, but he refuses to lose. He will forge his own fate. The Dullahan knocks him down, but he gives Alec the signal. It's time for the final attack.
Loki notices that he has created even more spell formations than he did against the dragon. Struggling to output so much power, Alec stumbles, but gets back up on his feet to complete the spell. As Alec's body glows with energy, more formations surround the knight. Finally, Alec releases the powerful combination Thunderbolt, making the monster scream in pain. However, the powerful knight slashes through its seal, wanting to escape. Knowing this is his last chance, Alec struggles to add more power to the spell, but his body gives out. Loki realizes that it is already insane that Alec has already used his ultimate spell twice, so it's completely normal that he can't use its full power. Meanwhile, Alec struggles to keep up his spell, but suddenly, he remembers Regulus's mocking words from when he fired him. Then he remembers the kind welcome afterward by his own team and raises his wand again. Unwilling to let them down here, determined to make his friends proud, Alec steps forward and chants a new spell called Vajra, which combines all his thunder formations and releases a gigantic dragon as the rest of the team watches in shock. Alec prepares to destroy the Dark Knight with his lightning dragon. Soon the monster breaks free from Yorha's seal and charges forward. Alec immediately releases his dragon, which rushes forth and devours the metal beast, shattering its entire body to bits. With the boss defeated, Alec finally collapses on the ground. Exhausted, he feels happy that he can rely on his teammates to cover for him, but Yorha reminds him that they're here just to enjoy themselves. Ornis thinks that the old Alec is finally back at full strength, but Crasha says he can still improve. He chuckles before asking Alec if he won their bet this time. Remembering their bet that whoever fell down first lost, Alec gets mad at Ornis for being so unfair. Knowing that Alec was suffering from a disadvantage, Ornis decides to go easy on him and give him a lighter punishment. He tells Alec to never keep any more secrets from their team, saying that he should always rely on his friends to solve his problems. Seeing his friend's sincere concern, tears run down Alec's face as he jokes about the light punishment. Ornis wonders if Alec wants to truly suffer, so he decides not to push his luck. As Alec feels grateful for such wonderful friends, Rywell and Marbell walk over. Rywell thanks Alec for saving his entire team's life, as he introduces himself as the party leader. Suddenly, Marbell comes out of nowhere and kisses Alec on the cheek while Yora gets jealous. Marbell thanks him for the help and invites him to explore dungeons with her party. Yora reminds her that Alec belongs to her team, while Loki praises his incredible performance. As Loki thanks the team for saving his life, Ornis and Crasha start bullying him to give them something in return. Feeling pressured, he finally agrees, wondering why the two of them partnered together to bully him. Then Loki turns around, thinking that the party wants him to give a letter of recommendation for them. Alec wonders what the letter would do. So, Rywell explains that in order to be promoted to S rank, all the ranked parties need a letter of recommendation and approval from the guildmaster. He reassures Alec that he'll write the letter of recommendation himself, and Ornis thinks it's a good idea to send Rywell instead of Loki. Feeling attacked, Loki asks if everyone hates him so much, and literally every single person nods, laughing at his misery. Once their discussion is done, Alec heads over to where he defeated the knight and picks up its monster core. With the core collected, Rywell's party says goodbye and leaves the dungeon. They praise Lasting Period for their amazing abilities, and they all grin, celebrating a job well done. Afterward, the party returns to the guild, where Alec gets his reward from the guild attendant. She sends him off after praising his performance, and Alec runs into the guildmaster, who tells him he's got a visitor from Galdana. As Alec meets this visitor, he finds out that it's Vogan. Vogan asks him if he wanted the prince to die by hiding his abilities from him. However, Alec reminds him that the spoiled little prince wouldn't listen to him anyway, which silences Vogan. Then Alec asks if the prince has a new court magician. He laughs and explains that the spoiled brat was humbled on the dungeon's 30th floor. Vogan says he was hired to teach the prince and be his bodyguard, but he got tired of his attitude. Realizing that he's the prince's bodyguard, Alec figures that Regulus must also be in the guild. He asks Vogan where the prince is right now, so he explains that he's in the guild's arena. Alec asks him to lead him there since he has some stuff to settle with Regulus. As the two of them walk downstairs to the underground arena, Vogan wonders why the prince is so rigid about his views on nobility. Alec thinks that it's only normal for nobles to act like a bunch of snobs, and Vogan sides. Frustrated, this surprises Alec, who points out that he's a noble himself. However, Vogan says he doesn't care about meaningless statuses and hates the way Regulus thinks. Soon they enter the arena, where Alec finds the prince standing in a cloud of dust. As Regulus turns around, he glares at Alec and reveals what the king told him.
Alec is surprised that the strict king actually wants to change his court, but Regulus tells him he'll only accept the change because his father ordered him to. He points an accusing finger at Alec, crying that lowly commoners don't deserve to work with holy nobles like him. Frustrated that he grew up his entire life thinking he was better than everyone else, Regulus starts screaming and grabs Alec's collar. As the prince sheds tears, overwhelmed by emotion,
Alec admits that he can't understand his feelings. However, he tells the spoiled brat that it's his fault for never listening to him. Regulus gets angry, but Alec shakes him off, saying that if he had listened to him, he wouldn't have gotten humiliated in the dungeon. Despite being in the wrong, Regulus's ego blinds him and he refuses to listen. He places a hand on his chest, which starts glowing, and summons his weapons to challenge Alec. Regulus tells Vogan that he doesn't think the king is right, and Vogan nods as he listens. The prince tells him to make the king change his decision if he can defeat Alec and prove the superiority of nobles. After his announcement, Regulus charges at Alec, who blocks his attacks. Alec feels surprised that Regulus switched to twin swords, and the prince tells him it's just an ancient artifact. He reminds Alec that he himself told him to stop using a heavier sword. Alec told Regulus to switch to smaller twin swords since they would be easier to wield with his younger body. Even after taking his advice, the prince collapses to the ground as Alec dodges his attack. Watching the prince's sudden passion, Alec asked Vogan if he encouraged him to do this. The bodyguard calmly tells Alec that he wanted Regulus to confirm a commoner's ability with his own eyes since he was too stubborn to acknowledge them. As the prince struggles to get up, Vogan tells him to prove his bluster about nobles with his actions. Angered by his taunt, Regulus tries to attack again, but Alec blocks it once more while the prince desperately slashes at Alec. Vogan reveals that he told the prince he'd earn his respect if he took action even if he couldn't prove himself. Then, Regulus charges a special attack to break through Alec's defenses, but he still deflects the attack. Exhausted, Regulus realizes that Alec is enhancing his own abilities through support magic. He remembers that while exploring the dungeons with Alec, he never used to get tired because his support magic protected him during his reckless actions. In response, Alec says that he was simply doing his duty, but Regulus reveals that when he went to the dungeon after kicking him out, he got his butt kicked every time. Frustrated by his repeated losses, Regulus finally read through Alec's notes. Even though it hurt his very bloated ego, Regulus admits that his notes were perfect and thorough. It left Regulus completely frustrated that Alec could even predict what he'd do in dangerous situations. So he thought that he was a complete genius. Unfortunately, despite recognizing Alec's ability, Regulus says that he wants to take him down. He challenges Alec to take him seriously, so the magician finally summons his sword. This time he gets serious and reminds the prince that he can absolutely crush him. Before making a move, Alec asks the prince if the king truly thinks their kingdom needs to change. The prince reveals that the king is testing the abilities of nobles and commoners, so he made him explore the dungeon for an experiment. Regulus feels humiliated that he was just a testing project for his father, and Alec finally realizes why the king was so nice to him all those years. The prince wonders if he's satisfied, but Alec tells him that previously he used to think he wasted all those years in the palace. However, if the king changed his mind, it means that his efforts and Eld's struggles all those years ago weren't meaningless. As Alec announces his happiness, Regulus is shocked. Then, Alec finally grips his sword, ready to finish the duel. Suddenly, he appears before Regulus in a flash and raises his sword. As the spoiled prince flinches in terror, Alec knocks out his swords in front of Vogan. Once the dust is clear, Regulus is left staring at Alec from the ground. He angrily asks Alec why he didn't hit him, wondering if he spared him out of pity. Regulus tells Alec why he isn't angrier at him, recalling all the times he humiliated him for no reason. As the prince goes on his tangent, Alec stares silently while Regulus breaks into tears. The young prince loses all hope, thinking his previous ideals and dreams have become completely meaningless. The prince wonders what to do next since he doesn't know what's right anymore. He thinks that perhaps if he died, his dad would reconsider his decision in grief. However, with Alec looking at him in pity, Regulus thinks that there is no way out for him. In his desperation, Regulus asks Alec what he should do next, which makes him laugh. Alec apologizes for laughing, but says that he never expected the prince to suddenly ask him for life advice. He explains that at first he also wanted to beat up Regulus and take revenge for all the suffering he put him through. However, with the prince crying and begging him for help, he can't help but laugh at the absurdity. Then, to answer Alec, he says that he doesn't know, since he is always relying on others because of how unpredictable life can be. Alec says that he even struggles to answer what he should do next. However, he tells the prince that he shouldn't ask others for advice and should make his own decisions about what to do. Hearing his advice, Regulus calms down and realizes he should answer his own questions. So he asks Vogan for an item, so he hands over the court magician's robe to the prince. Regulus offers the robe to Alec, saying that he took it away from him unfairly on James. At that moment, Vogan also shows him a letter from the royal palace, and Alec asks if it's a royal order. Vogan says that it's actually a request from the king. So Alec refuses to take the robe. He tells the prince that he doesn't want to leave his friends and won't ever become a court magician again. He tells him to give the king his warmest regards. The prince throws the robe at him, giving up on Alec. Regulus turns around to leave, saying that he's a total loser for refusing the king's kindness. Alec smirks, saying that he's already a useless commoner, so he can't be missing out much. Finally, Regulus says that he hates Alec, and Alec replies that he feels the same way. Hearing him angry, Regulus leaves, this time with a smile on his face. Vogan turns around to follow his young lord, while Alec laughs, finally feeling free of a mental burden.
Sometime later, the team is relaxing in their room when Alec asks if everyone is free. Ernest, Kracia, and Yorha say they have time, so he asks them if they can show him around the city. At the mention of sightseeing, Ernest suddenly gets a stomachache, while Kracia remembers she's got something to do. Alec gets upset, knowing they're clearly making an excuse to go out with him. However, they ignore him and leave anyway, and Yorha gets embarrassed because they're clearly trying to give her some alone time with Alec. Alec asks Yorha to go out with him alone since he just wants to explore. She gets flustered by his offer, but agrees to show him around. First, Yorha takes Alec to the Adventurer Street, where they explore all kinds of stalls selling useful equipment and items, as she warns Alec not to get swindled by fake goods. A shopkeeper offers her a strange pill to boost her fighting power for 10 whole days. Despite her clever advice earlier, Yorha falls for his obvious scam, like a toddler getting tricked by candy. As she's about to buy the pill, Alec stops her and pulls her away from the scammer's shop. He tells her to just send Ernest and Kracia shopping for any items she needs. So Yorha recalls the last time she sent those two idiots to the market. Instead of the items she requested, they ended up buying a bunch of useless merchandise with her precious money. Alec sighs, realizing he's dealing with the world's smartest toddlers in his party. Then he notices Yorha holding a bag and offers to buy the supplies himself. After Yorha thanks him for the help, they enter a cozy cafe to relax for a bit. As they sit down, Alec asks Yorha why Ernest and Kracia hate Loki so much. She smiles awkwardly and explains that they had a squabble before Ernest got his ancient artifact. Yorha asks Alec if he remembers Ernest's reckless fighting style, and he nods. She explains that although he's wild on the battlefield, Ernest has always had a habit of carefully maintaining and cleaning his weapon off the field. As it turns out, Lasting Period was exploring a dungeon 2 years ago when they encountered an A-ranked party in trouble. Luckily, Loki and Rywell also came to help, so they were able to fight against the dangerous boss. However, Ernest got injured while protecting the weaker team members from the floor boss, and he tried to hide his injury as they continued fighting. After the boss was defeated, he tried to walk back home with his injury, but collapsed on the way back. Loki and Rywell helped drag Ernest along, but as Loki held Ernest's spear, he thought it was broken from all the fighting. Thinking the weapon was useless, Loki threw it away, which made Ernest furious when he woke up. Yorha believes things still would have been fine since Loki genuinely got rid of a weapon he assumed was broken. However, he told Ernest that he cared too much about a disposable item, which completely enraged him. She explains that ever since that incident, Ernest and Loki have always been at odds with each other. Alec finally understands why Ernest hates Loki so much, but wonders why Kracia dislikes him as well. So Yorha tells him that Kracia just thinks he's annoying, and they both laugh at their petty friends. After having coffee, the two of them go back out to explore the market. Soon, Yorha spots a rare elf bracelet, which increases a person's magic power. Although she really wants the accessory, it's too expensive for her. Alec offers to pay for it, and she's surprised that he'd spend so much on her. He tells her that since she's the team leader, it will help everyone if she gets stronger. Seeing his support, Yorha accepts the gift with a big smile. For the rest of the day, they continue exploring the city and its different attractions. Later in the evening, they look out at the beautiful sunset together. Yorha wonders if Alec likes Fizzle City, and he nods, saying it's much more lively than Galdana. Hearing about the Imperial City, Yorha grows serious and asks Alec if he can answer her question again. This confuses him, so she reveals that ever since she asked him to rejoin their party, she felt guilty thinking that she stole his job away as the court magician. Yorha wonders if he is happy to be with their party or if he feels forced to tag along with them. He says that although he has some unfinished business in Galdana, his goals have changed to help his party become the strongest in the world. Hearing this, Yorha tears up and tells him she'll never allow him to quit again. Alec smiles, but she teases that she'll send Ernest after him if he disobeys. As they both cheer up, Yorha feels happy that Alec told her about his inner feelings. However, he suddenly becomes serious and tells Yorha he wants to hear her true feelings as well. She's shocked and instantly assumes he's confessing his love to her, but Alec then explains that Ernest pressured him to talk about his worries with the team, which is why he opened up to her. Realizing she just got tricked, Yorha blushes like crazy, and Alec wonders why she's so embarrassed. The next day, Alec is peacefully sleeping in his bed when Ernest yanks his sheets off. Noticing a book beside him, Ernest wonders if Alec stayed up all night reading. He nods, saying that it's important to stay up to date, but Ernest tells him to fix his sleep schedule. Then he tosses Alec's clothes in his face and tells him to get ready for the day. Finally feeling refreshed, Alec asks Ernest if they should do their usual routine, and Ernest excitedly agrees. After getting dressed, both boys go outside to spar with their swords.
Watching them fight, Yorha wonders why they never take any time off to relax. She warns the boys to take it easy, but they ignore her and keep going full throttle. Alec points out that he missed out on 4 valuable years of fighting, so he needs to bridge the experience gap between him and his teammates. Suddenly, Ernest knocks his sword away and raises his own blade to finish him off. Alec manages to counter the attack, but his sword breaks in the process. Ernest reluctantly admits that even though Alec lacks experience, his reflexes are insane. Alec then points out that Ernest was also able to block all of his attacks. When Alec says he planned to beat him in their match, Ernest laughs and tells him there's no way he could ever defeat him. Then he pulls out his spear and tells Alec to use his artifact sword for a real battle. Thankfully, Yorha stops the boys before they injure themselves in the stupid practice match. Suddenly, Loki shows up and mocks the team for training so hard, then offers some of his own expert advice. Naturally, they all ignore him and leave to explore the dungeon. Loki smiles and tells them they should treat him better since he just got them promoted to S rank. This shocks everyone, and Yorha quickly tries to get the promotion certificate from him. However, Loki keeps it out of her reach, saying that he'll only give it to her if Ernest apologizes to him. As Loki starts laughing at Ernest's misery, Crisia bonks him on the head for his childish attitude. Then she gives Yorha the letter herself, and Riel congratulates Lasting Period for achieving the S rank status. After taking the letter, Yorha jumps in joy, feeling like she's taken a step closer to achieving her dream. Then Crisia reminds Alec that after reaching the S rank, he's now qualified to explore the legendary Arcana dungeon. Alec wonders why it's so special, so Riel explains that the Arcana dungeon is even harder than the level 64 they experienced last time. Alec is surprised to learn this, so Riel offers to give him tips on exploring the new dungeon. Crisia explains that they're still indebted to his team for saving their lives, so they're willing to help him anytime he needs it. Suddenly, Loki barges into the conversation and tries to flirt with Yorha and Crisia. However, they just pretend like he offered to treat them all to a feast for their promotion, and the boys get excited to eat. Feeling nervous, Loki tries to act like he has to cancel the plan for an urgent team meeting. Unfortunately for him, Crisia just exposes him and tells everyone they've got no meetings, so Loki is dragged away to pay for their meals. A short while later, they all settle down in the restaurant, and Riel starts their celebration with a cheer. While eating, Alec still feels disbelief that he's in an S-ranked party. Noticing him mumbling, Ernest wonders if Alec thinks he doesn't deserve the rank without earning it. He gets angry and tells Alec to stop feeling like an imposter, but Alec reassures him that he's not thinking that way. Then, Ernest declares that the promotion is just the start of their journey to become the world's strongest and warns Alec that he'll beat him up if he tries to act like a sore thumb. Now with his passionate declaration, everyone gets even more fired up. As they start ordering more food, Loki screams that his credit card is showing negative numbers. Later that night, Yorha gets tired from all the celebrating. Cray believes Alec is the reason she's been so happy. Suddenly, the guild receptionist comes out and tells Crisia she's got a patient who needs urgent help. Crisia follows her inside and heals the patient, and the receptionist thanks her for the help. Noticing many other injured adventurers in the room, Crisia wonders how so many people got hurt. The receptionist explains that recently, a criminal group called the Shadow Guild has been targeting adventurers. Just then, Leviel enters the room with another group of injured adventurers and brings Crisia along, explaining that this girl is Olivia from Nameless. He leaves her to handle the situation, and Crisia begins checking Olivia's wounds. Noticing the large scars on her body, she wonders if Olivia was attacked by melee swordsmen. As Crisia thinks about letting the girl rest, she suddenly wakes up and asks where she is. Crisia tells her she's in the guild since the guildmaster brought her here for treatment. Crisia asks Olivia what happened to her in the dungeon, and she gets mad as she remembers a traitor. Confused, Crisia asks who she's talking about, but Olivia gets up to find the person who betrayed her. Crisia tells her to lie down since her body can't handle it, but Olivia thinks she can still fight with some quick healing. However, Crisia stubbornly refuses and tells her that if she keeps pushing herself with those injuries, she'll end up destroying her body. Angered, Olivia tells her that she can't understand how she feels, but she falls back on the bed from exhaustion. As she falls asleep, Crisia starts cleaning her wounds with a wet cloth. Noticing all the scars on her body, she realizes that Olivia also has many old injuries from countless battles. Olivia is one of the kingdom's best sword fighters, so Crisia wonders who could have done this to her. Finally, she casts a healing spell on her to help her recover faster. After putting in so much effort, Crisia falls asleep beside the bed and stays with Olivia until morning. Meanwhile, Alec reads a book on the Arcana dungeon to perform some research. Suddenly, a boy sitting in front of him interrupts his reading. Alec wonders why the boy knows his name, but he simply asks Alec to buy some ice cream first. As they sit in the ice cream parlor, Alec watches the small boy devour their entire stock. He reminds the boy to introduce himself. So, he reveals that his name is Loerg from the S-ranked party, Nameless. Loerg explains that he wanted to talk about Alec because he's been curious about how much stronger he's gotten. Alec asks what he thinks of him, and he tells him he's the perfect replacement. Alec is confused, but the cheerful boy invites him to join his team for their next trip to the Labyrinth dungeon.
The next day, Crisia enters Olivia's room to treat her injuries, only to find her swinging her sword in bed like a maniac. She asks Leviel why he didn't stop her, so he says that the muscle-headed wouldn't listen to him. He also feels frustrated that Olivia isn't talking about the Shadow Guild, so Crisia tries to calm her down. After Olivia finally stops, Leviel asks her for information on the Shadow Guild. She still refuses to talk before complaining to Crisia that she can't use her legs. Meanwhile, Leviel gets angry at Olivia for disrespecting him so much, but Crisia just kicks him out of the room so she can change her bandages. Once he leaves, Crisia uses her healing magic and wraps Olivia's legs in bandages, telling her she'll be able to move again after a bit more rest. Olivia wonders why Crisia isn't asking her for information, and Crisia explains that she doesn't want to make her uncomfortable. Olivia praises her for her integrity. As Crisia humbly accepts her praise, Olivia suddenly apologizes to her, feeling bad that she treated her harshly earlier. Suddenly, Crisia places her hand on Olivia's forehead and gives her a kiss, leaving her embarrassed. Crisia explains she was just trying a different kind of healing to reduce her stress, which surprises Olivia. Her comforting action reminds Olivia of her childhood, when her mother would kiss her forehead to calm her down from crying. Recalling the tender memory, Olivia calls for her mother, which catches Crisia off guard. Then she tells Crisia she's thirsty, so she pours out some tea for her. After that, Olivia suddenly remembers that she's hungry, so Crisia leaves to get some food for her. Meanwhile, Alec tells Yorha and Ernest that Loerg wants to partner with them. Ernest tells Alec that he was fooled by Loerg's innocent appearance because Loerg is actually much older than he looks. This confuses Alec. So Yorha reveals that Loerg is an elf who can live for extremely long times. Then Ernest asks Alec about the details on the labyrinth. So he remembers that Loerg's team was going to level 72, which is the labyrinth's second-last floor. Loerg actually wanted to quickly take down the floor boss and focus on the final level where he needed Alec's help. As a reward, he even offered to let Alec's party take the dungeon core. Loerg explained that his own party was too busy taking revenge against the Shadow Guild, which is why he needed his help. After explaining this, Loerg gave Alec the 72nd floor's core as a down payment and left.
However, Ernest thinks that such a free reward sounds too good to be true, so Luarg is probably trying to trap them. Yorha doesn't think that the leader of such a prestigious party would trick them, but Ernest decides to confirm it with Olivia, since she's also a member. Yorha reminds him that Olivia is injured, but Ernest feels confident that she has recovered by now with Crazia's healing. As they walk towards the guild, Ernest wonders how an S-rank fighter like Olivia got injured by the measly Shadow Guild. Suddenly, the receptionist, Misha, comes running out. Yorha asks her what's wrong, so she explains that something bad happened to Crazia. As they head inside, they find Crazia limping around while supporting herself with the walls. Seeing Alec, she collapses into his arms and explains that she was drugged. Yorha and Ernest also come rushing over, so she tells them she's fine, but Olivia escaped from her room. Crazia thinks she went to the labyrinth, but Ernest doesn't care what happens to her. Angered, Crazia reminds him that Olivia still hasn't recovered from her injuries, and the Shadow Guild is still inside the dungeon. Ernest still thinks there's no way an S-rank fighter can get harmed by the measly Shadow Guild, and tells Crazia to relax. However, she remembers Olivia's words about a traitor, so she thinks that the guild might be hiding someone dangerous who could hurt her. Feeling guilty that Olivia is in danger because she healed her leg, Crazia heads out and says she'll help her on her own when she leaves the guild. She finds Alec and Yorha waiting for her. They tell her that no matter what, they won't let their friend face her problems alone. While Crazia feels surprised, Ernest also comes out and quietly says he doesn't mind looking for Olivia on the side. Crazia teases him about his earlier nonchalance, so he gets angry and tells her to shut it. Together, they all head out to the labyrinth. As they arrive, Yorha tells Alec that the labyrinth is full of teleportation traps. Suddenly, Marbelle appears out of nowhere and warns Alec he could get lost and hooks her arm with his. Of course, Yorha gets offended, so Marbelle says she was just joking. Then she explains that she also came to rescue Olivia after hearing she snuck out, but it was already too late. She also reveals that Luorg asked her to explore the labyrinth with them. So Ernest realizes she's acting as Olivia's replacement. Marbelle nods proudly, saying that she's also an S-rank swordsman. Then she starts flirting with Alec again, so Yorha pushes her away. She claims their team doesn't need anyone's help, since they already have such good synergy with each other. Yorha also points out that Nameless was a party that was put together by random individuals, but they can't do that for lasting period. This confuses Alec. So Ernest explains that Nameless is a party in name, but the members don't actually care about each other. That's why they only get together when they're exploring a dungeon, while staying away for the rest of the time. Marbelle agrees, thinking that Olivia matches the cold description of a Nameless member. However, she thinks that Olivia is a kind girl in reality, recalling a time when she was doing her training. Marbelle asked Olivia if she wanted to be friends, but she said she only liked to explore dungeons. Then Marbelle thought about pairing up with her for a dungeon, and Olivia actually showed up to explore it with her the next day. While Alec and Yorha feel bad for Olivia, Marbelle asks to come with them again. Yorha still refuses, and tells her to inform the guildmaster that they're heading into the labyrinth. She finally agrees to leave, but tells the party that Olivia is in a lot of pain right now. After asking them to help Olivia, Marbelle leaves the dungeon while Ernest gives Alec a secret weapon. He warns him not to break the weapon. Once they enter the dungeon, Crazia starts setting up a teleportation circle, which makes Ernest impatient. Yorha tells her to finish, since the circles would allow them to teleport back to the entrance if they ever got lost in the dungeon. Then Ernest suddenly starts teasing Crazia for being so calm, reminding her of how she was crying back in the guild. Angered, she kicks the orc straight in the face, which sends him flying a few meters away. As Ernest lands on the ground, it activates a teleportation trap.
So Alec tries to grab him. However, he also steps on a trap, so both boys immediately get instantly teleported to another floor. As Alec opens his eyes, he gets surrounded by a bunch of monsters. Reacting quickly, he starts taking them out with his thunderbolt, but the monsters keep popping out. Suddenly, Crazia appears and takes a monster out, saying that their secret weapon is a huge help. Alec looks at the Mobius ring, so Crazia tells him it limits how far apart its wearers can go from each other. He feels relieved since he can't get separated from Crazia with this ring, but feels worried for Yorha. Crazia starts teasing him for being so concerned for Yorha and asks if he doesn't want to explore the dungeon with her. Alec gets flustered, and she finally stops and tells him that Yorha will be fine with Ernest by her side. Then, as both of them head deeper into the dungeon, Krejia complains that Alec got teleported to the worst-smelling room ever. On their way, they encounter another horde of monsters, but Krejia helps Alec clean them up. He praises her for being so good with the sword despite being an archer, so she explains she just didn't want Ernest to call her a burden. After defeating the monster horde, they start moving again, and Krejia reminds Alec how good he is with his own weapon. She notes that he can't fight so well without using support magic, and Alec laughs since his secret is out. Krejia says there's no way he can hide his support magic without getting on Yorha's level, but he thinks there's no way he can match her. Soon, Alec stops running, which confuses Krejia, looking at a bloodied bandage nearby. He thinks they're getting close to Olivia's location. Meanwhile, Yorha and Ernest run away from a massive monster army. Yorha asks Ernest why he thought opening a random door was a good idea, so he says he just loves mysteries. To help them fight the monsters, Yorha creates a giant earth platform that gives them the higher ground. Ernest takes this chance to head straight for the largest monster, and Yorha notes that he's using too much stamina. To increase his stamina, she casts her support magic, which allows Ernest to pierce straight through the giant army and cut their leader head off. After the boss dies, the rest of the monsters get terrified and run away. Yorha praises Ernest for his incredible performance, but he tells her she should give that praise to Alec. Ernest thinks that Alec needs the praise to boost his confidence, but Marbell might be giving him just enough. Suddenly, they stumble across a fierce monster chopped apart by a single strike. Yorha realizes that it's actually the corpse of the floor boss and wonders who could defeat it so easily. Ernest grins, convinced that this is definitely the work of the Blade Master, Melia. In another part of the dungeon, a man from the Shadow Guild called Gloria praises Melia for his strength. However, he thinks that Melia defeating Olivia is much greater feat than chopping down a floor boss. Melia explains that he knows Olivia, so he could easily predict her moves. Gloria nods, understanding the reason why Olivia was so shocked after seeing Melia. Then he wonders why he betrayed her despite knowing her so well. So Melia tells him that he has his own reasons. He tells Gloria that his interests are similar to the Shadow Guild's higher-ups, but he has a personal goal. Gloria gets curious, so Melia tells him that he's bored with being so strong. By joining the Shadow Guild, he wants to experience something that would increase his power even more. Gloria thinks that Melia is too focused on strength, but he ignores his weird wish. Then some of his subordinates inform him that another party is exploring the dungeon, so he wonders if they're from Nameless. His subordinate says he couldn't confirm their identity, so Melia hopes that the person he's looking for is among them. Gloria is intrigued by this mysterious individual, but he simply orders his subordinates to finish off the party quickly. Excited, the man pops a strange pill, ready to head out. Elsewhere, Krejia and Alec finally find Olivia sitting in a corner. She's surprised they're here and asks Krejia to heal her again. This time, Krejia refuses, knowing Olivia would just run off if she did. Then, Olivia asks Alec to heal her, but he explains he can't use healing magic. He tells Olivia that Krejia only wants the best for her, which is why she rushed over to the dungeon to save her. However, Olivia doesn't want Krejia to get hurt, so she gets up and leaves. While leaving, she apologizes to Krejia for drugging her and being unable to repay her favor. Suddenly, Krejia turns around saying, "All swordsmen are the same." She tells Alec to stop Olivia and firmly declares she won't leave without knowing why she keeps returning to the dungeon. Olivia tells her that she's here to settle a personal grudge, which doesn't involve the Shadow Guild. Then Alec reminds her that Marbell is also worried for her, but Olivia refuses to budge. She tells them that she's visiting the dungeon to find her master, who killed her mother. As Alec and Krejia are left speechless by the news, Olivia walks toward a teleportation circle and warns them to stay out of their way. Krejia quickly chases after her, and they all end up teleporting together into a floor filled with giant beasts.
Knowing they're trapped, Alec rushes into the monster horde to fight his way out. Olivia also starts drawing her sword to follow him, but Krejia stops her. After healing Olivia, she explains that she'll create a teleportation circle to escape since Alec can't defeat all the monsters on his own. Her care brings a smile to Olivia's face, and she jumps to fight with Alec. While both of them hold off the monsters, Krejia charges her teleportation spell. As the fight goes on, a Cyclops monster tries to hit Alec. He easily dodges the attack before attacking the monster's back. However, it easily shrugs it off and attacks Alec again as the monsters back him into a corner. Suddenly, Olivia slices off their heads. Alec is shocked since he couldn't even see her draw her sword, and she tells him he's still too inexperienced with handling tougher monsters. Soon, Karacia completes her circle and calls to Alec. But suddenly, her magical formation disappears. As Alec realizes that there must be a magic eater in the dungeon, even more of them walk into the room. Facing the monsters, Olivia and Alec stand together before she rushes forward and kills a monster with ease. Watching her slice and dice through the entire pack, Alec notes that Olivia's sword is quiet and deadly, unlike Ornest's bold and flashy fighting style. Determined not to look inferior, he moves forward and kills some monsters himself. Olivia praises Alec's strength and sword, but she tells him that his technique is too unrefined. As Olivia advises Alec to stop relying on brute strength alone and let it move with his body's natural flow instead, Karacia searches for the dungeon's magic-suppressing monster. Nearby, Olivia and Alec know there's no end to the monsters, so Olivia asks Karacia if she could find the magic eater. Karacia tells her that the monster is nearby, but it's surrounded by a large crowd. Despite the danger, Olivia dashes straight for the monster horde and starts hacking away at them. To protect her from the rest of them, Alec tries to distract the other monsters in the room. As he runs around, a flying monster attacks him from above, but Alec blocks it before sending it back. However, the persistent monster keeps attacking him again and again, so he leads it straight into a large Cyclops monster. Although the bird easily kills the Cyclops, it keeps its sights set on Alec. Meanwhile, Olivia gets closer and closer to the Magic Eater monster before finally defeating it and breaking its artifact. Then, Olivia alerts Karacia to the monster's defeat, so she charges another teleportation circle. Once she's done, she calls Alec again, so he charges a maximum power thunderbolt that fries all of the monsters pestering him. After defeating the monsters, Alec goes back to Karacia while she waits for Olivia to join them. Finally, Olivia makes it through the endless monster horde and grabs Alec's hand, so Karacia teleports them all away from the dangerous monster house. When they're out of danger, Olivia asks Alec why he never told her about his magic capabilities. He reminds her that he already mentioned it, but Olivia tells him no magician would just rush into a monster horde with a sword. Although she feels embarrassed for lecturing him like a senior, she thanks Alec for helping her escape the deadly room. He tells her he'll consider her advice anyway, before asking Karacia if she's glad they made it out as well. She tells him he's taking the situation too lightly, reminding him that Olivia's wound still haven't healed. Karacia warns her that if she continues fighting like this, her old wounds will reopen. Then she repeats Olivia's hateful words about the traitor who injured her and asks her who it was. Olivia explains that her mother was an adventurer who died during her childhood, so she was left all alone. During this tough time, a kind man called Melia comforted her and adopted her as her daughter. Afterward, Melia trained Olivia as a swordsman and imparted all his hidden techniques to her. Although Olivia would still break down from the grief of losing her mother, she had the memories and experiences to comfort her. During her training, Olivia had started admiring her master for his incredible skill and teachings. Years later, when Olivia had grown into a powerful swordsman, Olivia asked Melia if she had become strong. He nodded, saying that her growth had exceeded his highest expectations before pulling out his bloodied sword. Olivia was too shocked at the moment to react, so Melia left her with a huge gash in his back as she bled out on the dungeon floor. He told her that he was the same person who murdered her mother. With this news, Melia left Olivia to die alone, and she felt like she had lost everything. In the present, Olivia feels completely betrayed because Melia tricked her into admiring him even though he took everything away from her. Now she thinks that she truly has nothing except for the mocking scar on her back. Seeing her so upset, Alec puts his jacket on her back to cover it and tells her that he used to feel the same way some time ago. Alec tells her that although he also felt like he lost everything, his friends reminded him that it was not the case, and she continues to be a swordsperson despite any obstacles. Hearing this, Olivia says she doesn't need friends, but Alec tells her that Lewarg is also trying to get revenge on Melia for her. As Olivia finally goes quiet, Crassia approaches her, saying that she had noticed many other bruises on her body while treating her. Although Crassia can't heal her old wounds, she tells Olivia she will always be ready to help her if she ever gets hurt in the future. Thinking about her words, Olivia clenches her fist, knowing that Lewarg and Marbell were both trying to help her as well. Unfortunately, Olivia thinks that Lewarg and Marbell are both underestimating how strong Melia is. She thinks there's no way they can take revenge on him. So Alec tells her he and Crassia will fight with her instead of Lewarg and Marbell. Overwhelmed by their support, she starts crying, so Crassia kisses her forehead to calm her down as Olivia stops crying. Elsewhere in the dungeon, Ornis complains about all the traps he's been dealing with. Although Yorha points out that most of the traps were activated because of Ornist's own actions, she thinks they still need to be careful since someone has already defeated the level boss. While she feels worried for Alec and Crassia, Ornis thinks that Melia is probably on the last floor by now. He explains that Melia probably won't attack Alec and Crassia, and Yorha calms down. Then Ornis surprises her by grabbing her cap and tells her to remain quiet. Nearby, as the Shadow Guild members make their way through the dungeon, their leader eats a dungeon core. Soon, Yorha and Ornist confront them, thinking they're the ones who attacked Olivia. Seeing the two of them, the leader realizes that they might be valuable targets and tells his team to attack. However, all of them get humbled 2 seconds later after Ornist defeats them and ties them up. He asks the leader what the Shadow Guild's goals are, but he refuses to talk, so Yorha puts a poison chain around his neck. The strong chains force the man to talk, and he admits that he was going after the dungeon's core from the last floor. Then Yorha asks him if he knows Melia, and the man nods, saying that his strength is on a completely different level. Knowing that the Shadow Guild guys don't pose a real threat, Ornis tells Yorha they should move forward and regroup with Alec. While the two of them plan to leave the dungeon, the man tells Ornist he didn't just eat a dungeon core for show. While Ornist is confused, Yorha feels a strange sound coming from the dungeon, but she's unable to locate the source. She tells him to quiet down, but suddenly the entire room starts shaking around them. On the ground, the man tells Ornis that the core gave him the power to control the dungeon. Suddenly, a tremor goes through the ground which hits Yorha, opening a huge chasm in the ground, while the other Shadow Guild members fall through the chasm. Their leader catches Yorha and takes her away, feeling lucky to have such a special target. The leader runs to the final floor and tells Ornis to face him in the dungeon's deepest depths. Meanwhile, Olivia is surprised to learn that Alec used to be Galana's imperial court magician. He explains that although he was the court magician, he actually learned all the magic he knows during his childhood. Because Alec lost both his parents at an early age, he didn't have much to do except for practice. As Olivia thinks Alec is more suited to adventuring than being a court magician, Crassia stops walking. She explains that when they entered the dungeon, Yorha made an agreement with her to meet at this spot if they ever got separated. Since she's nowhere to be seen, Crassia thinks that Yorha must be in some trouble. Suddenly, they notice the giant chasm near the room and wonder what happened. Seeing something in the chasm, Olivia jumps in and grabs Yorha's cap, which Alec immediately recognizes. Meanwhile, Yorha wakes up with the Shadow Guild and asks them why they didn't kill her. Gloria tells her that it's supposed to be a secret and taunts her for asking questions like she's in control. Nearby, Melia tells Gloria to stop messing around, but he says he was only joking. Just then, Ornis jumps into the room and smashes the core eater, and Gloria gets up to fight him. While he fights off Ornis, Gloria tells his friend to get going. Shocked that Ornis could find him, the core eater realizes that it's because of the bracelets the two of them are wearing. As he takes off Yorha's bracelet, Ornis asks him why he was so excited to capture her. The core eater refuses to answer. He knocks out Yorha and carries her. Ornis warns the savage man he'll rip him to shreds if he touches his friend, but he ignores him and runs away with Melia. Meanwhile, Gloria stops Ornis from chasing him and tells him he's too strong to be easily defeated. As the fight continues, Ornis notes that Gloria's strong sword isn't a true artifact. Confident in his spear, he easily shatters Gloria's sword and pierces through his stomach. As the heavily injured man falls to the ground, Ornis turns around to chase Melia. However, Gloria suddenly starts screaming like a maniac. While crying about losing so much blood, he tells Ornis that Melia is a cruel man for pushing him into such a dangerous mission. As Gloria vows to kill everyone, Ornis turns around to finish him off. However, he raises his hands in the air and summons a demon's power which absorbs his blood and heals his wound. Then Gloria's sword also regenerates with the new power, and with
a dangerous glint in his eyes, he politely warns Ornis that he's about to end his life.
Although Orr is surprised that Gloria can regenerate his body using his own blood, he still thinks he can beat him as long as he injures him enough. After charging at him, Ornest pierces through Gloria's body with his spear once again. However, Gloria only chuckles and pulls his spear out, saying that no matter how many times Ornest attacks him, he won't die. After taking out the spear, Gloria regenerates his sword and reveals that the more blood he loses, the stronger he'll get. Stunned, Ornest can barely dodge as Gloria launches a terrifying attack towards him. Then, he blocks more of Gloria's attacks, noticing how much they've increased in power. As Ornest retreats, he wonders how to deal with this tricky power. To prevent him from escaping, Gloria creates a magic circle which summons a bloody whip. Then he lashes out with a long whip which hits Ornest despite the distance between them. Suddenly, Gloria hooks Ornest's foot with the whip and lifts her into the air before smashing him into the hard floor. Seeing him on the ground, defeated, Gloria starts laughing and taunts Ornest for messing with the wrong guy. Suddenly, Ornest tells Gloria he's going to be the perfect punching bag for unleashing his rage. As Gloria keeps taunting him, Ornest gets up and tells him he can't back up his talk. Recalling Alec's words about dropping his own weapon, Ornest summons his spear and sends it flying toward Gloria's face, but Gloria narrowly dodges the attack. Gloria laughs at Ornest for thinking such a simple attack would work, but when he turns around, he's greeted with a nice hard smack to the face. After knocking Gloria out, Ornest remembers a time from 6 years ago when he used a training sword to challenge a freshman Alec to a duel. Alec wondered if it was fair for him to use a real sword while Ornest only had a training spear. But Ornest told him he had never lost a duel to anyone since enrolling in the school. After receiving his answer, Alec charged forward and started attacking Ornest. Ornest was surprised that Alec was driving him back so easily, while Krasian noted that he was making it too easy for him by using a practice weapon. Yorha wondered if Ornest would finally lose the match, but Krasian shook her head. In the end, Ornest got so fired up that he literally tossed his spear away and charged barehanded toward Alec. However, Rosa interrupted their duel and broke them apart, after which the boys calmed down. Later that day, Alec felt upset that he lost the duel, but Ornest reminded him that they didn't even finish their match. However, Alec admitted that it was Ornest's win, since he was brave enough to drop his own weapon and fight him head-on. While Ornest felt flustered by his praise, Alec revealed that his magic sword consumed a lot of mana, so he would have eventually lost the ability to fight anyway, and so if Ornest continued to fight him barehanded, he would have been able to defeat him if the fight had gone on. Feeling even more flustered, Ornest told Alec it was only natural for a genius like him to win. Surprised by his title, Alec wondered if Ornest was under pressure because of it. Even Ornest was surprised that he took his words seriously and went deep into thought. In the present, he tells Gloria that his teammate Alec is an unparalleled offensive magician, while Yorha is the best support magician. Ornest drives Gloria back with his punches. As he continues to pummel Gloria, Ornest tells him that he has no magical talent. Despite his lack of magic, he knows he's a genius when it comes to physical combat. Finally, Ornest drives the point home with a powerful punch that knocks Gloria to the ground. He then tells Gloria that since he becomes stronger the more he bleeds, he'll just smash him to death with his punches. However, Gloria vows to show Ornest the true power of his magic. Just then, Gloria slices himself open, which lets him create a huge magic circle with his own blood. From the magic circle, he summons a strange eye, which allows him to cast a blazing tornado spell. As the tornado rages towards Ornest, he braces himself for the attack. Meanwhile, back at the guild, Leviel watches Luorg stuff his face with ice cream. He wonders how someone can stuff so much food into his belly, but Luorg points out that a drunk like him has no right to judge anyone. Then, Leviel asks why he chose Alec for the exploration. So Luorg says that an S-rank party should be fine. Knowing that the dungeon is a dangerous place even for S-ranks, Leviel doesn't buy his excuse. So Luorg states the real reason he chose Lasting Period. He explains that he chose them because of the rumors about Alec defeating a giant hydra using 5 different magic elements in the process. Luorg thinks it's obscenely difficult for a magician to manipulate 5 different elements, so if Alec is really that talented, he'd be a great fit for the job. Hearing his reasoning, Leviel admits that he's also interested in the rumors. However, he only believes things when he sees them, so Luorg asks what he means. Leviel admits that he doesn't fully believe Lasting Period defeated the Galena Dungeons level 68, but after seeing their talents in person, he isn't so sure anymore. Suddenly, Marbell arrives at the guild, startling Leviel with her loud shouting as he wonders what's wrong. She reveals that Olivia escaped from the clinic and ran off to the labyrinth. However, Luorg wonders if Alec's party went searching for her, and she nods. While the two of them feel at ease leaving the job up to the lasting party, Leviel feels frustrated by their reckless attitude. He tells him that his guild wanted to exterminate the Shadow Guild at their own pace, but Alec's party is now ruining his plans by butting in. He then finishes his drink and leaves. Outside, he tells Marbell he has only seen Alec use lightning and fire magic, so he thinks they're the only two elements he can use. Marbell confirms that Alec has only used two elements in front of her during battle. Hearing this, Luorg feels surprised, thinking he got scammed by the rumors.
However, Leviel thinks that Alec may have had the ability to use 5 elements in the past, but he lost them afterward for some reason. He also thinks that Alec could just be hiding the other 3 elements, but there's no way to confirm the truth. Then Leviel turns around, saying that he'll go look for Alec's party in the labyrinth. Before leaving, he tells Luorg to call Coffin Kid, and he thinks that the labyrinth must be a complete hell zone at the moment. Knowing that Lasting Period is facing some incredibly dangerous people, Leviel prays that the kids can survive until he arrives. Back in the dungeon, Ornest watches in shock as Alex suddenly appears and deflects Gloria's blazing tornado right back at him. Just then, Krazia and Olivia also catch up. Olivia wonders if Gloria is dead, and Ornest also believes there's no way he could have survived that attack. However, Gloria remains standing, so Olivia prepares to take him down with the team. As they all get ready to fight, Ornest reveals that Melia and a man from the Shadow Guild escaped with Yorha. The group wonders why the Shadow Guild would kidnap her, and Ornest is just as confused as they are. However, he informs them that the Core Eater knew about Yorha, so he couldn't have good intentions with her. While Alec wonders about their intentions, Ornest tells the others to go ahead, saying that he can handle Gloria on his own. However, Krazia heals him and tells Alec to stay with him, preparing to leave with Olivia. Angered to see more opponents, Gloria roars and unleashes more magic attacks. Alec easily deflects them all, which allows Olivia and Krazia to quickly escape. Frustrated, Gloria tells him to stop reflecting his attacks, so Alec taunts him to try again. Then, Gloria stumbles from exhaustion, so Ornith thinks he's starting to lose all his mana. However, he fails to notice Gloria's body going through a strange transformation. Meanwhile, Leviel rushes through the dungeon with Marbell and Luorg, explaining that the Shadow Guild is a cult that worships a demon. Luorg also adds that the Shadow Guild has certain title bearers who obtain great power from the demon in exchange for a huge price. Back to Gloria, he uses a strange seal spell that transforms his body into a demonic form. With his enhanced physical abilities, Gloria gets to Ornest in a flash and bites on his neck, so Alec drives him off with a lightning bolt. Since Gloria is too fast for single spells, Alec creates a gigantic thunder field that lights him up. Alec wonders if his attack worked, but Gloria recovers from even more blood, saying that his blood allows him to infinitely recover mana. Gloria reveals that the only way to defeat him is to drain all his blood. Then, he summons 2 short swords, which he uses to slash at Alec, although he blocks the attack with a barrier. Gloria's relentless slashes eventually break through. However, he realizes that he forgot about Ornest in the heat of the moment. Just then, Ornest sneaks up on him for the final blow, but Gloria reacts quickly and engages him in a melee fight. Ornest realizes that Gloria is too fast for him to keep up with, and Gloria mocks him for calling himself a combat genius. As he continues to beat Ornest up, he tells him that nobody in the world knows a self-proclaimed talent like him. Ornest goes down, and Gloria tells him he's about to show him why everyone calls him Gloria the Wrathful. He reveals that most members of the Shadow Guild can't use the magic seal like him since it's incredibly stressful on the body. However, Gloria boasts about his own strength, saying that he has the courage to go beyond his limits. Then he warns Alec not to try any funny business, saying that he can kill Ornest at any moment. While Alec remains motionless, Gloria once again mocks Ornest for wasting his time. Suddenly, Ornest stabs through his body and tells him he wasn't joking when he called himself a genius. As his spear catches on fire, Ornest recalls fighting against a young boy in his village. Back then, his friend would easily beat him up, saying there was no way he could defeat a genius like him. Despite his arrogant taunting, the boy would always watch Ornest training alone at night. However, one day, Ornest found his friend coughing up blood in his room. Learning that he was suffering from a terrible sickness, Ornest told him to keep fighting and live up to being a genius, but his friend was ready to give up. He told Ornest that he had finally beaten him and declared him the new genius in his place. As he recalls this memory, Ornest ignites Gloria's body, passionately declaring he'll call himself a genius no matter what anyone else says. Meanwhile, in another part of the dungeon, Krazia and Olivia chase after the Shadow Guild members. Elsewhere, Melia reaches the door to the dungeon's final floor. When it opens, they step into a mystical area with a giant tree at the center. As they enter the tree, it leads to a staircase right towards the dungeon's core. Seeing the powerful ore, the Shadow Guild member grins in excitement and goes ahead to grab it. Watching the triumphant Shadow member holding the core, Melia's eyes dangerously narrow.
Back inside the dungeon, Ornest spots that Gloria is somehow still on her feet. Gloria then figures out that Alec only pretended to be terrified in order to give Ornest an opening to strike. In that instant, Alec releases an ignition spell that engulfs Ornest's whole body in flames. Ornest then leaps to finish off Gloria with his scorching hot powers. Gloria is surprised that Alec actually ignited his own teammate, but Ornest withstands the flames to pierce through Gloria's body with his spear. He unleashes a powerful flurry of spear attacks, knocking him down to the ground. Ornest then jumps to land the finishing blow from the air, so Gloria tries to stop him, saying that he'll burn up from Alec's flames. However, Ornest confidently tells Alec to keep igniting him, saying that he'll cut down his opponent no matter if he's title bearer. Refusing to back down, Gloria tries to block Ornest's strike. Ornest then forces him down, admitting that Gloria is a formidable opponent. He recalls his friend from his childhood whom he gave up on defeating after he fell sick. Since the boy couldn't fight anymore, Ornest considered him the greatest fighter he could never defeat. He declares to Gloria that he'll cut down all of the strongest fighters in the world. In Ornest's mind, this will make his childhood friend the only person to have defeated the world's strongest fighter. After finishing his passionate speech, Ornest completely destroys Gloria's body with a final barrage of attacks. As Gloria's body falls to the ground, Ornest tells him to be proud since he got defeated by the legendary Lasting Period's strongest fighter. Ornest then walks back to Alec, who smiles to see him so riled up. Meanwhile, by the Grand Tree, Yorha slowly awakens from her slumber. Close by, the Shadow Guild member spots her, and she looks away. Moments later, the Shadow member reveals the dungeon's core, taunting her with the precious resource she had been seeking. Suddenly, Melia slashes through the arrogant Shadow's chest, saying he's being too loud. After the man falls, Melia picks up the core and walks up to Yorha. He tells her that the Shadow Guild is useless to him and calls her the Seeker. Yorha wonders what this means, so Melia tells her that a Seeker can see a tree called Eden. According to legends, Eden can grant persons wishes if they give it the dungeon's core. Surprised, Yorha tells Melia she doesn't know what he's talking about. Then the Shadow member growls at Melia while struggling with his wounds, since even a powerful blade master like him can't take on the entire Shadow Guild. The Shadow member asks why Melia is trying to kill him. Melia smirks, saying that it was his plan to provoke them from the start. He says that in order to become stronger, he needs to fight more difficult battles to gain new combat experience. Then, Melia kills the Shadow, thinking that even the Shadow Guild might not give him the experience he needs. While walking away, he declares that he'll just create a new Blade Master with the strength to fight him. As Melia looks below the platform, he finds Olivia and Crassia waiting for him. Olivia angrily calls out to Melia, who taunts her for not learning her lesson. Seeing her companions, Yorha gains confidence and tells Melia he's finished. She reminds him that Ornest and Alec are also on their way. But Melia gets interested in Alec. He asks if Alec's last name is Egret, and Yorha confirms it. Hearing this, Melia gets excited to face off against Arya Egret's son. Meanwhile, Ornest tells Alec he'll stay behind since he's exhausted from his fight. Olivia agrees and promises to save Yorha on his own. After that, Ornest drinks a health potion and warns Alec about Melia's strength, revealing that he defeated the dungeon's floor boss all on his own. Ornest also remembers something Rosa told him years ago, warning him never to stir up trouble with the Blade Masters. After explaining the situation, Ornest gets up and advises Alec not to risk his own life. Surprised by his concern, Olivia promises to save all of their friends and teleports away using his band. Once Alec leaves, Ornest passes out from exhaustion. Back in the dungeon's final floor, Melia calmly walks down the stairs while Olivia rushes towards him. He taunts her to keep running, saying that he doesn't have any time forever. Olivia swears to make Melia pay for killing her mother, but she avoids him and keeps running. She then grabs Yorha and jumps back to Crassia, urging her to attack. Crassia draws her bow back and unleashes an arrow rain spell. Dozens of powerful arrows shoot toward him, but Melia easily cuts them all down with his sword. He then looks at the three girls, ready to face them all. Once Yorha is free from her restraints, she casts a bind spell on Melia. Although her chains restrict his body, he still holds his sword with his hand. Crassia thinks Melia made a mistake in ignoring Yorha, who is their group's secret ace. To prove her point, Crassia casts a 7-fold enhancement spell on Crassia, which boosts her abilities to an extreme. Crassia then unleashes her most powerful spell, Phoenix Arrow, sending it hurtling straight toward him. Melia smiles and breaks free of all the chains. Then he completely disperses Crassia's Phoenix Arrow with a single smooth move. Crassia feels stunned that he was able to disperse her full power attack after all of Yorha's enhancements. Meanwhile, Olivia takes the chance to sneak behind Melia, knowing that he let her rescue Yorha on purpose. Thinking that Melia only toyed with them to see their full power, Olivia tries to attack him with her sword. However, he parries her attack behind his back with just a single arm. Melia turns back to glare at Olivia, wondering why she hasn't given up on trying to kill him alone. Olivia tells him that she won't let anyone else have his head, saying that she'll exact her revenge for all the pain he gave her. Then, as she charges to attack again, Melia notices that Olivia's body has healed from his strike. He praises Crassia for healing her body and says that Olivia has gained some talented friends. Then, Melia cockily smirks and tells the girls their full power attacks were only impressive for a bunch of kindergartners. While Olivia is stunned, he tells her that he's disappointed she teamed up with such weaklings. Melia believes Olivia hasn't learned a single thing from him, so he decides he'll have to teach her a lesson by taking her life. Hearing his cold words, Olivia remembers a moment from the past when Melia found her crying.
She told him that some bullies mocked her mother, saying that she was a weak adventurer who died a pathetic death. Olivia also said that the bullies taunted her for being a weak adopted kid and refused to play with her. As the young girl felt all alone, Melia comforted her by saying that loneliness makes a person stronger. He reassured Olivia that she'd become much stronger than anyone who bullied her, perhaps even becoming stronger than himself. Listening to Melia's words, Olivia wiped her tears and told him that she wanted to become strong just like him and her mother. After that day, she continued to train with Melia until she learned the reality that he was the demon behind all her pain. In the present, Olivia fearlessly charges towards Melia and attacks again, refusing to get intimidated. He parries her blow, so Olivia steps back. She spits out at his pathetic lesson, saying that he has no right to teach her anything. While Melia remains silent, Olivia attacks him again and again, saying that he has no idea how much pain she has gone through. She tells him that she kept training with her sword just to become strong enough to defeat him, but Melia smirks as he blocks her attack. Then he sends her flying back into a wall. Crassia steps up to help Olivia, but Yorha stops her, reminding her that they can't fight the blade at close range. Crassia agrees and shoots an arrow at Melia, but he effortlessly catches it with his bare hand before breaking it. He then turns around and tells Crassia that her attack is much weaker than her previous Phoenix arrow. He tells Olivia that this is the limit of people who live in teams and says he'll prove his point. Although Olivia tries to stop him, Melia ignores her and starts walking towards the two girls. As he tells Olivia he'll show her true despair again, she desperately screams at him to stop. However, Melia coldly ignores her and takes a sword stance. Terrified, Olivia yells for Crassia to get away. But in that moment, Melia releases a devastating sword strike. The attack rips through the dungeon and creates a wind that carries the surrounding river's water into the air. As the water rains down on Melia, Crassia watches, stunned that Olivia blocked his attack. In the moment, Melia slashed at her with his sword. She immediately stood in front of the attack to shield her friends. Unfortunately, the attack cut through her chest, and Olivia collapses from the wound. Crassia catches her and promises to heal her wound. Relieved to see her safe, Olivia admits that she's weak. While Crassia heals her, she declares that if being lonely is what it takes to become strong, then she'd rather remain weak forever and stay by the side of her dear friends. Melia remains silent as he listens to Olivia's defiant words. At that moment, Alec descends from above and launches a sword strike against him. Melia parries the attack and asks if he's Alec Egret. Alec refuses to indulge him and moves back toward his friends. Worried for him, Yorha glances his way and he reassures her that he's all right. Alec then tells the two girls to take care of Olivia and runs to fight Melia once more. He unleashes blow after powerful blow, wondering why Melia betrayed Olivia's trust. Alec wonders why Melia made her suffer so much, so Melia tells him that Olivia is too stubborn to go down after just one painful lesson. Angered by his cold attitude, Alec screams and attacks again. This time, Melia avoids the attack entirely and asks Alec why he's fighting with a sword despite being a magician. He turns around and tells Alec to use his full power, saying he'll pay for trying to match his sword skills. Alec turns around and finally uses his strongest offensive spell, Vajra, which summons a giant lightning dragon to his side. Alec drives the Vajra monster towards Melia, who blocks it with his sword. After a tremendous effort, Melia actually pushes back the dragon with his physical power. He then cleaves through the spell, surprising Alec. Meanwhile, Melia looks at the blood on his hand, pleased that Alec's attack actually cut his skin. However, he tells Alec that he utterly failed to bring him down with that magic, pointing out that his attack lacked any real intent to kill. Alec warns him to stop fooling around, saying that he'll show him the true power of his magic next. As Melia smirks, Yorha wonders if Alec is going to use his secret weapon. Alec recalls Ornest's warning not to risk his own life, but he thinks he'll go against his friend's wishes. He then closes his eyes and starts releasing all the mana in his body, while Melia waits for Alec to show his true power. Yorha watches the powerful aura surrounding Alec, pointing out that this technique is an original magic only he can use. She explains that because Alec has removed his limits, he is now free to use all 5 of the magic elements together. Soon, Alec creates 5 different magic circles and raises his wand, which absorbs even more mana to power his attack. He prepares to launch 5-color release, his strongest ever offensive spell that combines the power of all 5 of the magic elements.
Now that Alec is able to use all 5 elements at the same time, Yorha explains just how abnormal and dangerous this state truly is. She says that mana inside the body functions much like blood. If someone absorbs mana that does not match their own, the body treats it as poison. Unlike blood, however, mana exists in tens of thousands of different forms. Because of this, absorbing mana from the outside world is considered impossible. A mage must normally generate mana from within their own body, or else their body will reject it and collapse. As Yorha explains this, the scene gradually shifts into a flashback from the past. At that time, Alec and his party were exploring the capital dungeon and had reached the 68th floor. The floor boss was a hydra with 5 heads, and each head used a different elemental attribute. To defeat it, all 5 elements had to be attacked simultaneously using opposing elements. While this condition sounded simple on paper, it was nearly impossible in real combat. Ornest grew visibly frustrated, realizing that no matter how skilled they were, their party lacked the balance needed to overcome this enemy. Yorha carefully examined their options and pointed out that Alec could already use fire and lightning magic. To compensate, the remaining elements had to be covered by the others. Krasia chose to practice wind magic, while Yorha took responsibility for earth and water. However, Yorha lacked defensive spells, and Ornest could not use magic at all. This made their plan unstable from the start. Watching this situation unfold, Alec began questioning the fundamental rules that govern mana. He noticed that mana exists everywhere, filling both the academy and the dungeon. From this observation, he formed a dangerous theory. The human body acts as a container for mana, but normally it is only used to release mana outward. If the body could also absorb mana, then a mage could draw power directly from their surroundings. Yorha immediately rejected this idea, warning Alec that external mana would poison his body, since internal mana naturally rejects foreign sources. Alec countered by saying that it was not true poison, but rather the body misinterpreting it as such. Krasia and Yorha continued warning Alec that attempting this would be extremely dangerous. Ornest, completely confused, could not even follow the conversation. Despite this, Alec made his mind. His friends knew how reckless he was, but they also trusted him. Alec had always been the ace of the team, and even when his ideas defied common sense, he often found a way to succeed. With that,
The flashback ends, and the story returns to the present. Back in the dungeon, Melia watches Alec carefully as overwhelming mana gathers around his body. This is Alec's original magic, a technique that only he can use. By completely emptying his internal mana first, Alec turned his body into a limitless vessel capable of absorbing all the mana around him. As a result, he can now wield all 5 elements at once, something no normal magician should be able to do. Alec launches his first attack, releasing a massive multi-element spell toward Melia. Several elements collide at once, causing the dungeon floor to shake violently. Melia avoids the first wave with ease, calmly stepping aside. However, the second wave catches him and slices into his body, drawing blood. Seeing this, Alec grows more confident and immediately follows up with constant wind blasts, trying to overwhelm Melia and prevent him from closing the distance. Instead of retreating, Melia begins laughing. He slices through a massive tornado with a single swing of his sword and slowly walks toward Alec. Melia explains that he only feels truly alive when facing death. Fighting weak opponents brings him no satisfaction. Only by battling strong enemies can he find meaning, and Alec has finally become one of those enemies. Hearing this, Alec is reminded of his master, Eldis. He asks Melia if he knows him. Melia confirms that he does, and says that Eldis likely never told Alec the full truth. He specifically brings up Alec's mother, hinting that her death was not caused by a simple illness. Alec desperately presses for more information, but Melia cuts the conversation short, saying that Alec will learn the truth on his own someday, and that when he does, it will be far more interesting. Melia then pulls out the dungeon's core and activates it. Instantly, an overwhelming surge of power flows into his sword. The pressure alone makes it difficult to breathe. Melia warns Alec to give him everything he has, since Alec's technique will not last much longer. Elsewhere, the guildmaster discusses Alec's spell with deep concern. Ornest explains that Alec's technique can only be maintained for 10 minutes. Using it is like firing countless cannons while using one's own body as the weapon. If Alec exceeds that limit, his body will be destroyed beyond recovery. Ornest struggles to stand, his body completely exhausted, unable to reach Alec despite his desire to protect his friends. Back on the battlefield, Melia overwhelms Alec using Mana Blast, coating his sword with dense mana to dramatically increase its destructive power. Olivia immediately recognizes this technique and understands that Melia is using a simple but extremely deadly method. Alec narrowly avoids fatal strikes as Melia relentlessly attacks, never giving him time to recover. Yorha attempts to restrain Melia using magic chains, hoping to slow him down even for a moment. However, Melia effortlessly cuts them apart. Even Alec's strongest combinations of elemental magic fail to stop him. Each clash sends violent shockwaves through the dungeon, causing the entire area to tremble. Following Crossia's plan, Alec switches to sword combat, forcing Melia into close-range fighting. Melia finds this amusing and easily knocks Alec to the ground, mocking him for challenging a blade master with a sword. Alec drinks a potion and declares that he is no longer fighting alone. His friends will help him win this battle. With their support, Alec begins adapting to Melia's fighting style. His body is pushed far beyond its limits, and every movement causes intense pain. Even so, Alec refuses to give up. As time continues ticking down, he remembers Olivia's words. He doesn't need to surpass Melia, he only needs to fight in harmony with his blade. With renewed determination, Alec continues attacking despite repeated injuries. His movements become sharper, and he finally manages to cut Melia's face, drawing blood once more. Melia acknowledges that Alec is not only a first-class magician, but also a worthy swordsman, something he did not expect. At that moment, Olivia joins the battle and manages to wound Melia. She demands to know why he raised her, only to later abandon her and try to kill her. Melia coldly responds that if she defeats him, he will tell her the truth. Despite her wounds reopening with every movement, Olivia continues fighting. Supported by her friends, she refuses to retreat, choosing to stand her ground even if it costs her life. As Alec reaches the final seconds of his limit, Alec and Olivia fight side by side. Melia calmly waits, counting the seconds. When the time finally runs out, Alec collapses to his knees, completely drained. His sword loses its form, and his body can no longer move. Melia prepares to deliver the finishing blow, believing the battle is over. But this was all part of the plan.
Crassia releases Devour magic, briefly stripping Melia of his mana. Yorha supports Alec with lightning, while Olivia steps in to distract Melia. Using the opening they created together, Alec manages to land another powerful strike. Even then, Melia remains standing, proving just how monstrous his strength is. Finally, an arrow pierces Melia's chest. Only then does it become clear that from the very beginning, the true threat was never the constant distractions. It was Crassia's final attack. That was episode 11.